Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. How are you doing? We all know that you can't rely on the BBC for the news. Good job, LBC's here to report it for us. Violent attacks on women and girls on trains rise by more than 50% in 2 years. What's behind this strange trend? It's a bit weird, isn't it? Why did red-blooded Englishmen, famed for their good manners all around the world, why did they suddenly just decide, I think I'll chin some birds on the way to work today? That's a good idea, isn't it? And that must be what's happening, because LBC, despite being professional journalists, they just can't get to the bottom of this one. Number of violent crimes is up from 2023. The amount of sexual offences is up from 2023, an increase of 10%. Sexual harassment is doubled. And Jess Phillips, she said the figures were unacceptable. No woman should have to plan her journeys by public transport based on when and where she will feel safe. Yeah, no woman ever should. No, they shouldn't. And you know what else would be good? Isn't it annoying when you're on a long journey and you really need a pee? So what I think we should do is, I think we should just, get rid of it. You know what? Sweating's annoying as well. Get rid of that. Jess, just get rid of it. I really, really want it to happen. So therefore it will. Because that's the way the world works. If you really don't like something, you don't have to do anything about it. You just say things to LBC like, I think things should happen, and they do. World hunger, that's pretty bad, isn't it? Don't worry. There you go. I've just thought about it. I thought it was bad and decided it should end forever. So it has. I should be in charge. Violent attacks on women and girls on trains rise by more than 50% in 2 years. Whether these figures reflect an increase in reporting or a combination of the two, one thing is clear. It is unacceptable and cannot be allowed to go unchallenged. Cannot be allowed to go unchallenged. Well, I'll tell you what, let's just go back. Let's do the last decade. I want you to find me a single instance in the last decade of a politician, a mayor, a councillor or a leader of men in the Western world going on telly and said, you know what? If you want to stick your fist down some random bird's drawers on the bus and massage your piss flaps, just do it. just do it. It's not that big of a deal. Can you find me one? Feels like we haven't been allowing this to go unchallenged pretty much in my entire lifetime. So let's scratch that one off for a hypothesis as to why these numbers have gone up. And let's explore some other reasons why these numbers might have gone up. Because we know that nobody's made society more misogynistic, and our leaders haven't been more misogynistic in the last 10 years, have they? So what else could be causing it? Well, I'll tell you what, here's a plan. It sounds crazy. Maybe we're importing men from places in the world where, unlike in England, where you were always taught to mind your P's and Q's and you grew up watching Sesame Street and were told by teachers and parents and everybody else, always make sure you're polite and you're nice to women, son. Maybe we're importing people from parts of the world where they teach them things like, if a woman doesn't go out with an all-in-one bin liner stretched over her entire torso and her face, so the only thing you can see are her eyeballs, therefore she's basically a prostitute. Yeah, maybe that's a problem. So, I always bring the receipts. Let's just look at 3 big incidents from the last week, just a week, that could be linked to misogynistic hatred and see who's doing them, shall we? One of them in particular is noteworthy because the usual suspects were out on Twitter having a pop. Dr. Shola Moss Shoggy Bammy Bamu said, Leicester Square knife stabber who attacked a girl 11 years old and a woman 34 is white. Sorry, white. Hero who fought him is Abdullah. When I pointed out that he was yet another immigrant and she was proving our point, well, she didn't get back to me. I can assume that's because she has great difficulty reading. And of course, he was. Man charged after stabbing in London tourist hotspot. A girl, 11, was recovering in a hospital after being attacked on Monday. The police said her mother, initially thought to have been stabbed, had not been injured. The man has been charged with attempted murder and his name was Ion Pintaru of no fixed address. I don't know about you, but I am delighted we are importing random foreign homeless tramps to commit acts of wanton butchery in the middle of the street. And I'm not saying there's no British criminals. There's plenty of them, but it's almost unheard of. For our criminal underclass, they do it to their own benefit. They shoplift, they burgle, they steal things, something that benefits them. Putting 12 holes in an 11-year-old girl doesn't benefit the average criminal. But there are cultural differences, which we all know, one of which is very common in other parts of the world, which is the duty acid attack, i.e. the lady in question doesn't want to marry me, so I'll melt her face off for a laugh. This is common in other parts of the world. It was non-existent in the UK up until the 60s. It didn't happen. In 1965, no man got knocked back from a marriage proposal and thought, oh, well, I'll tell you what then, I'll melt her lips off. That's a good idea, isn't it? Nick Lowes, however, reported that one did happen and it was entirely fictional and he caused a few riots, but it's Nick Lowes and he's a left-wing activist, so it doesn't matter if he causes some riots, does it? Let's have a look at another few incidents and see if they were carried out by blokes called, nice English or Scottish names, like Jack Smith or Hamish McDogshit. From The Guardian, man who shoved tube passengers onto the tracks, guilty of attempted murder. I don't know how you pronounce that. Mr. Schorsch, 24, pushed a postal worker, and the postal worker was called Tadjes Potjek, and narrowly missed a live rail at Oxford Circus Station. Is there anybody left in London whose name doesn't sound like someone just dropped a Scrabble box and then started picking up letters at random? What are you talking about? Dr. Shola. If you think you're making a point against immigration and every single incident I find involves people that are about as British as those large-footed tribesmen in the Brazilian rainforests who've never even seen a television, you are failing miserably because you're being irrational. We'll do one more, shall we, out of morbid curiosity, even though we all know what the answer's going to be. Another high-profile story, and we'll see who was involved, shall we? City centre knife horror as man and woman stabbed and forensics scour the scene. An investigation has been launched. A man has been charged in connection with the double stabbing in Castlefield, with a woman being knifed on Slate Wharf on Saturday night. Viet Tran, 21, of no fixed address, has been charged. However, don't worry, Inspector Gulkan is going to find him. Yeah, when you can basically sum up all of the names involved in that piece with the words Can, Van and Tran, you're not really talking about red-blooded Englishmen. The much maligned Jacob Rees-Mogg is not going out knifing young women and girls. So, what point am I trying to make? Well, I think you know the point that I'm trying to make, ladies and gentlemen. The point is, at this juncture, it seems like the vast majority of violent, irrational crime taking place in the United Kingdom is a direct result of the government having zero standards. None. The government has lower standards than your average 20-year-old bootneck after he's had 9 pints of Stella, 3 tequilas, and he's on the lash in Dundee. He's got a raging hard-on, and the only women in the 2-bit claggy flawed dump that he's pissing up in are all howling 20-stone nymphomaniacs. They've got no standards. None. All these people are homeless, mentally ill, lunatics, and the government's letting them all flood the country. Brilliant. Brilliant. In the 80s, we had standards. As I've told you, the working classes are the ones who integrated immigrants. We did that. They didn't send them all to Knightsbridge. They sent them to Middlesbrough, and we made friends with them, and we hung around with them, and we ensured that they grew up to be good, culturally British kids, and we made sure they talked like us and they walked like us, and unfortunately, if you're from Middlesbrough, you supported the same football team as us. We did that. The middle-class arseholes who never talked to them or seen them or had anything to do with them are labelling as right-wing and horrible. We integrated the foreigners, and you ignored them because you don't like them in the nice leafy shires, do you? Angela Merkel invited millions of hairy-arse blokes in, and they weren't living in her street, they were living in yours. Well, or the German equivalent. In fact, no, they'll all be in Leeds now, won't they? So to sum up, I can explain the rise in attacks on women, and it's the importation of millions and millions of fighting-age men by a government with zero standards and no interest in the safety and well-being of your wives and daughters. That's it. They'll never release the statistics because we already know them. Pluck stories out of the air at random that appear to be the actions of psychopaths. Not, burglary or white-collar crime or pickpocketing and the things that, yes, chavvy English people do because they want money for backy, but stuff that's really evil, perpetuated against defenceless women on purpose, and you will find the vast majority of them are about as English as the Aboriginal bloke that Crocodile Dundee knocked about with. It's a crazy state of affairs. The world's gone completely mad, and our leaders have committed an act of vandalism, purposeful self-harm against our nation. Brilliant, love that. Anyway, if you disagree, please let me know in the comments. Find me a story where a 10-year-old lass has been stabbed up for no reason by a white chav from Stockton-on-Tees called Alan Smith. Just do your best. Prove me wrong. I dare you. All right, thanks for watching. See you all very soon. Please like and share it if you can be bothered, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Toodle pip. Cheers.